Hi, everybody. Nanny K here with Eric Hill's Papercraft Studio. Tonight we're going to be working on the prompt number 5, lettering. I have old stencils from 1987 and 1988. I've had these since that time, and they're in excellent condition. One was from Card Drug, one from Michael's, and one from what used to be called Ames Department Store. And I'm going to be working on the next blank page, which is the green copy dyed page that we have in the journal. I've got some selected images to use. These are pictures of 16th century. They're sketches, black ink sketches of 16th century queens that are sitting down at desks writing any type of document that you may want to imagine with a feather pen and inkwell. That was the focus, the subject to be sketched. And so the queens were to be sitting and writing on a document and using feather pens. Some other papers that I have, copy dyed papers. We're mainly looking at background to use to support our lettering. There is a piece of paper that is included in the papers I have here that has lettering on it. I will be using part of. Most of these are our Paperintables, which are digital files that we have on sale on www.crafttoys.com. Here's that paper that has the lettering that I wanted to use a part of. And Paperintables is a trademark for our digital file downloads. So we'll put these out away and start using our papers that I've chosen. A section of the paper that is going to be included on the journal. I don't want to use most of these. So I'm going to trim off the white space. Just to give it a little more edge. I'll put something frilly next to it. My coffee dyed dolly should do. There's some lined text paper I want to use. Also copy dyed. Everything practically that I use, I put my hands on, I have copy dyed. I'm tearing it down to size to fit on top of the green. I don't want to completely cover it. I did want some of the green to show. More of my interest was getting the idea of text or lettering by using lined paper on the page. I'm using the makeup brush to apply the ink through the stencil. First, I'm gluing down the lined paper, and I'm also going to glue down the piece of doily that I want to use as an accent. Just to see what kind of pressure is needed to get a good impression using these stencils. I first do a test stencil. I don't want the stenciling to be overly heavy, and I am using Ranger's Archival ink in Fern Green for the first stencil. I'm going to edge this piece of paper with the lettering on it that I want to apply and take it down a little bit so it's not taking up so much real estate on the page. With that in place, I felt compelled to put something just to break up the the really boldness of the white and black. One of the packets of stickers and embellishments that I have acquired along the way had a what seemed to be a chart, like an eye chart. I remembered that I had it and it would be perfect on this page. But while I was working, I did not realize that the bottom of the book was out of the camera shot. There is a small, I put a very shallow pocket at the bottom to hold the tag that I was going to make for the prompt, to hold the prompt for that page. And it's at the very bottom, and that's what this tag is for. I normally don't do voiceovers. However, when I started the video, I didn't, we have a HyperX microphone. A very neat function of the microphone is just simply sensor touching the top of it to mute it. It can also work against you as well, of which it did in this case. I did not realize it had been muted. You simply have to bump it and it will mute it. I assume that's what happened. It got bumped and I didn't notice that it was muted, so I was jabbering along doing crafting and not being recorded audio, not having the audio recorded. Now I get to do the voiceover. One of our queens doing her writing. I have fussy cut her out. She's oriented in a fashion where it looks like she's going to be sitting on the corner of our page, doing our lettering for us. And of course, we're using the black ink, black soot, for doing edging on that particular image. I was just holding up a note saying something about the camera shutting off. There's a 30-minute time restriction on the software that I use, and it was shut off without making a sound. And so that's what happened with the last part of putting that image together and putting it on the page. But I didn't do anything else except a small amount of stenciling before I noticed that it was not recording. So picking back up on the recording, there had only been a small amount of stenciling done. So I'm using the vintage photo ink on this set of stenciling. It turns out to be a much lighter, and it just gives a much lighter impression, even though you can put quite a bit of pressure using those stencils. It gives you a much lighter impression. I have some watercolor pencils that I love to use. Although we're not going to put water on this particular application, I'm simply outlining the queen, the 16th century queen image in the red and doing several layers of the outline for emphasis and also to give it a pop of color on the page. But if you do want to smear it, all you have to do is just take a small amount of water, a few drops, and put it in the palm of your hand. Take a Q-tip and there we had selected some clusters that were in the cluster box, pre-made clusters. It was totally out of scraps. They were glued together with Fabrifix. And that's what I'm using in the entire application, is just using Fabrifix to put the things together on the page. And I had a strip of trim, just just some trim that was from the night before, I think. Also, just for a pop of color and some interest to pull the eye over to one side. There was just a bit of area there that looked a bit too white I had made a corner pocket as well. There was just a corner image that I trimmed out, and I only glued it on two sides to turn it into a corner pocket. It's very small. So I have a cutout or a punched out heart, and I'm writing the initials for Eric Hill's Papercraft Studio, EHPS, on the back of the heart. There we have our queen doing her lettering, and many examples of lettering on the page, dark and light. And I had fun doing this particular prompt with you. Good night.